Alright, just wanted to make a quick Safuu video because there's a lot of talk going on in the Discord, and I think that is awesome. I love that. Love when there's a lot of discussion going on. There was talk, Elliot has a lot of ideas for Safuu moving forward. He was even talking about reverse rebasing at one point. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, so he'll have to iron out the details there. There was, and then there's talk about Revive, obviously, and Ted had some interesting ideas, which I'm going to read to you guys, but I can tell you the big subject in the Discord today was Safuu version 2, which would be attached to Revive, possibly, so we'll see what that means. So let me get to the Discord comments that I pulled out. So Josh Hazy said, I don't know if this has been asked or if it's even possible, but any chance Safuu can migrate to Vulkan blockchain? And Legendary Other Nathan responded, we would have to do a version 2 Safuu if we did that. Liquidity is locked in Safuu. We would have to figure out how much liquidity could be brought to new version 2. Elliot is trying to find out the question regarding liquidity. So yes, it has been discussed as an idea. Wouldn't count on that, but it's been brought up by me actually, LOL. And then others were talking about it too a couple days ago. And Nathan brought it up like months ago, and he's been bringing it up in the council meetings, a version 2 of Safuu. So just want to give credit where it's due. He had thought of this a long time ago, and he's been campaigning for it. But and others are starting to jump on the bandwagon as well. So we'll see where that leads. And Husk Miner said, liquidity is locked. Sacrifice is a shit plan, in my opinion. And Nathan responded, all depends on how much liquidity could be grabbed. That's the main issue. Consider this. If we were able to grab enough liquidity, then change entire tax structure on a V2 and start fresh with no FUD from Brian being attached to Safuu, could even be a new name if needed. And then Husk Miner said, I thought Revive, Lottery, Crew 3, and all the other stuff was the answer. Now all of a sudden it's not. And then Legendary Other Nathan just responded, I think Revive is awesome. It could be routed to do the burn on a V2 Safuu. So Revive's, that's the thing about Revive's tokenomics. Revive, the contract, has not been renounced. So if they need to make some changes to it, or if they want to make some changes based on community approval and a vote, they could change Revive a little bit, like the tax structure, and redirect it to a Safuu version 2 if we wanted. Let's see, and then Ted had a pretty cool idea. He said, I suggested migrating liquidity to a new DEX with a Revive Safuu liquidity pair. This will shoot up the price like crazy and provide arbitrage opportunities. We could probably run a 1 to 3% tax to burn the supply. With that system in mind, we could see Safuu hit well over $10 in the Revive liquidity pool, especially if we liquidity pair maybe, especially if we provide liquidity. He just put LP, so I don't know if that's a liquidity pool or liquidity pair. Especially if we provide LP incentives by distributing Safuu. So. And then Elliot responded to Ted and said, if Safuu is traded taxless in an external LP pair, liquidity pool pair, okay, above the current price, people will arbitrage it out and never let it reach $10. So not 100% sure how that might work. And Ted responded, it'll cause a buy pressure on the pancake swap pool and deplete the supply with high taxes. I'm guessing he means deplete the supply that has the high taxes, because the Safuu Revive pairing would not have the high taxes. I think we could do Ted goes on to say it'll also drive volume to Revive, which in turn drives volume to Safuu. Pretty ingenious in my opinion. And I just asked, how do you migrate Safuu's liquidity if it's locked? And he said, do a sacrifice. And then Husk Miner said Safuu would just pump again after sacrifice, wouldn't even get half of the liquidity out. Sacrifice hasn't proven to be a good thing yet to anyone either, meaning all of us who sacrificed into Vulkan. It's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, so maybe another sacrifice would not be well received, is Husk Miner's thinking on that. So I've heard, because I read all the Discord comments this morning, and I heard that if we did a Safuu sacrifice, I think at most we could just get like 20 or 30% of Safuu's liquidity out, which at this point would be like quite a bit still. It'd be like 300,000 plus. It'd be like 400,000 even, which is not bad. Let me see. And then the other thing is, the other point that Husk Miner was making, he said Safuu would just pump again after sacrifice, meaning like the price of Safuu would dip tremendously, but then there would still be like $1.4 million in the liquidity pool, and people would just buy up Safuu again when it was at its super low price. So then Safuu would go back to, you know, doing what it was doing, which is going crazy for a little while at least. So it's an interesting thing to think about, because it would cause some pretty big ripples if we created like a V2 of some kind in Safuu and did some kind of a sacrifice event for it. Maybe not many people would sacrifice for it. There would have to be some kind of incentive. I guess that's what Ted was saying. He was saying, especially if we provide liquidity pool incentives by redistributing Safuu. So I don't know how you would do that. You'd have to buy the Safuu, I guess, to redistribute it. I don't know. But so there's a lot of talk about V2, and if there was a V2, there would still be a V1, because there's nothing we can do with V1 because the contract has been renounced. The liquidity is locked for 12 and a half more years. So it would just create like a whole ecosystem of tokens around Safuu, pretty much, because we'd have Revive, then we'd have Safuu V2, and they could all like feed into each other and, you know, be a big happy family. So a lot of talk going on in the Safuu Discord though, and it's very, very cool. And if you go into I'll just mention this at the very end, if you go into the Cause for the Cavs Discord, it looks like Keith opened up a new chat room called One. What the heck is he doing? What is One? There's a One main chat, there's a roadmap, and there's a white paper. Now if you click on those, there's, you know, the white paper doesn't have anything there yet, but clearly there's something going on. Anyways, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Oliver78900. And if you could like, comment, or subscribe or something like that, or any combination of those three, I'd always appreciate it. All right, thank you.